What's up, guys? So, Clank Catacombs came out, and for you guys that don't know, Clank is probably one of the best deck building dungeon exploration games out there. I know a lot of people compare it to The Hunger. I don't really care for that game because it actually punishes you for actually doing what the game wants you to do. So, this is the third interpretation of Clank. This is actually not an expansion, it is a completely different standalone system. And from what I understand, it's really not compatible with the original Clank or Clank in Space for obvious reasons. But you can use the Adventures Pack to go along with it. So, what makes this different is that unlike the normal Clank, which was a giant fixed board, this Clank is kind of build your own dungeon. They did do some things like add prisoners. They took away the key from the market because now there's lockpicks, which are right here. But that's a minor secret thing. The lockpicks you pretty much use to get through. But let's get to what's actually in the box. So we have a new Clank bag. And I say new as in at least the color. And then we have these white cubes, which are, they call the ghost cubes. They're very similar to the bounty hunter cubes in Clank in Space, where they'll get added to the pool. We have new shaped meeples, it looks like. Red is a knight. Green is a wizard. Of course, more plastic bags I don't need. Yellow is some dwarf. And blue is archer of some sort. And here's our new big bad dragon, which is a interesting teal. We have our standard Clank decks, which the backs look exactly the same as the original Clank. But the original Clank also got way too big with the expansion, so it got kind of messy. So I kind of like the new reiteration of this version of Clank. I mean, it's pretty much the same game with some minor tweaks, and the major tweak being that the board is now semi-modular. So instead of having our health track and everything fixed at the bottom of the board as it used to be, it's now its own little independent board. There is no back to it. And this is the new dungeon tile format. So we have these brown tiles, which are going to be the top 6 of the stack of the deck. You can rotate them any way you want, as long as they connect evenly. But the top 6 are going to be these brown cards, or brown tiles. No, these are not brown, these are purple. I'm sorry, lighting's a little off for me. That and everyone says I'm colorblind, which maybe I am, or I just have problems seeing certain shades. No, I'm pretty sure those are the right ones. And then we have this tile here. So this is your starting home tile, and this is the only tile that has the weird rule of it doesn't have to be lined up. So for some reason you can't line it up, which I don't know how that would work, but that's what it says in the instructions. That's the only tile that you can't do that with. So this is your starting tile, and you have to escape. And you have to collect an idol, of course, or treasure. So let's see if we have the treasure tokens. Here are new lockpick tokens. Sadly, this cardboard's really thin and kind of flimsy. I don't really like that, but it doesn't affect the game that much because it's not like the tokens are heavily used. And then we have these prisoners, which also require lockpicks to use to free prisoners. And it is a supply that can get refilled. So that's pretty neat. We have our market deck. We have our treasures. So we have the ring, the ankh, an urn. Oh, and how treasures show up is the first time a treasure tile shows up, you're going to dump whatever treasure's in there. The lowest treasure to the highest, and then there's a stack order that you'll grab like the second. And then this tile is a little interesting. So whenever you put a cube here, one of your Clank cubes from your pool, you'll get 1 money. You can't put more than once, but for every tile that's filled up, you'll get an extra cash. So that's a kind of neat mechanic. Here's the new prison symbol that requires So you'll get 2 prisoners if you spend a lockpick, and the prisoners have varying abilities. I thought it was kind of odd. The tiles are supposed to be self-explanatory, but then they said definitely look at this cheat sheet. So I was like, okay. So like that guy has just gained 3 points and up the threat with the red. But it looks like we have 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 22 of the lower depths, and this is the lower depths. It's blue. If you die down here, you lose pretty much. And we have 6 of the upper depths, which, like I said, they said they're brown, but they definitely look purple to me. Maybe I misunderstood what they meant. But we have 6 of that, so 6, 22. We have 28 tiles, plus our home base tile, and of course we got the monkey idol and stuff there. Seems odd that it would go that way. I don't know. But that's pretty much Clank. The new Clank, anyways. Like I said, this is the 3rd interpretation, I believe. A lot of similar things, just minor changes. And the cool thing is, as Direwolf's really good about keeping up with the stuff, if you don't really want to read all the stuff, just like Clank in Space, there's these little markers here that tell you what's changed. And of course, I like the fact that it's a nice square book that fits in your box really well, and it's easy to read. We have our example turn. Oh, here it is. So the Adventure Party expansion will work with this variant. So if you have that, you can add it to it. But so far, it looks like regular Clank. I have yet to try it. I will get around to it as soon as I'm done messing around with all my other side projects I got going right now. Mainly, I have Vanguard, Darkest Dungeon. I am doing the Scarlet Keys campaign, and I'm actually working on the play videos, which kind of messed up some of the video quality, so I might just paraphrase the whole campaign. I've only gotten through 2 of them. So, as normally in Clank, there's pretty much unique. Very rarely will you find more than a couple of the same cards. Most of the time you only find 1 variation, but 2 is the max, I think. So the Secret Tomes, Mercenaries, and Explore deck, they come back. And these are your key market cards that you can always buy. Your Clank decks are going to be made from Burgles, Stumbles, Sidesteps, and Scrambles. It's pretty much the same. But your 10 card starting decks, and there's 4 of them. So it looks like your actual main Clank deck is really small. And that's not a bad thing, because every time they make expansions for these games, adding way too many cards to the card pool kind of ruins the game. So it's a reboot, reset with new mechanics. So we have the Goblin, who's always out in play, and you can always fight him for cash. And we got some new monsters. Do they have funny lore? Forget talking about a brick wall, trying to fight one. I guess that's funny. With the rival effects, kobolds. So one of the things I like about Clank in Space a lot is the sci-fi reference and the wording. These aren't that funny. There's a lot of monsters in here. And we have more devices, which pretty much work the same as the old purple cards. Bandits, Bards, Brave Hero, Charlatan, Corrupt Advisor. They do have a thing about cats in Clank, and I never really got the cat thing. And I gotta check later to see if the app is actually connected to this, because there is an app for Clank. It's not great, but if you want to play the game by yourself or have some randomness, that's one thing that Clank will do. Seems like this Clank deck is actually more balanced out. Very few cards are only 1-ofs. So that's kind of nice. Doesn't make one key card your strategy. Yeah, that's the Catacombs. Now, like I said, this is a brand new separate reinterpretation of the game. This ran me about $60, and it's pretty normal to the price of Clank, as I recall. Here are the little ghost tiles, too. So every time you draw one of these, you get to add a white die or white cube to the Clank pool, which I think is over here. Which I guess we'll just throw at the top. Wow, there's not a attack tracker. Okay, that's kind of different. But usually you dump the attack tracker and it would go up. That's Clank Catacombs. Hope you guys enjoy, like, and I will probably do a playthrough of this, even though Clank's kind of boring to watch. But it is fun. It is a really, really fun game. It's a very simple game. And with this version, it does offer more variety and replayability. So, other than that, if you like what I'm doing, please appease the YouTube gods by liking and subscribing. Other than that, take care, and everyone be good to each other, because we need to be.